Carrion had me intrigued right from the Devolver Digital E3 presentation. Not only has Devolver become a powerhouse for indie titles on the Nintendo Switch, but Carrion just screams weird and different, which is what I look for in my video games. It's a very clever action platformer that I can definitely get behind. Luckily, we were given a chance to play the game this past week with a brief alpha demo, and I couldn't be more excited to get my hands on the completed product. Carrion is a biomutant amoeba killing machine with nothing but a lust for blood. You wreak havoc and destruction and consume matter to a point where you almost quadruple in size. The movement is on point. You slither around by pointing in the direction you want to go and expanding and contracting your limbs, almost in a swinging-like fashion akin to Spider-Man. You can morph your body to squeeze through tight places and even survive underwater, which is imperative if you are set on fire by the military personnel in the facility in which you are trying to escape. Carrion has a few basic moves. You can latch onto objects and people to pull and throw them about. You also gain the ability to dash, allowing you to destroy barriers and access new areas. Lastly, eating people causes Carrion to become massive in size. I had a particularly fun time latching onto enemies, smacking them around like a plaything, and then reeling them in to devour them entirely. As far as the plot goes, we don't know much from this little teaser demo. Essentially, you are breaking out of a facility where scientists were seemingly running tests on Carrion. The demo involves your escape and destruction of the lab by fighting through the labyrinth of traps and military personnel. The developer Phobia Game Studios describes Carrion as this. Carrion is a reverse horror game in which you assume the role of an amorphous creature of unknown origin. Stalk and consume those that imprison you to spread fear and panic throughout the facility. Grow and evolve as you tear down this prison and acquire more and more devastating abilities on the path to retribution. So I expect even more abilities and upgrades to Carrion as the game progresses forward. The only other game developed by this same studio is Butcher, which was released a few years ago. The reviews are very positive, and I believe the details of this game could shed some light on what we can expect out of Carrion. One reviewer sums up the Butcher quite nicely. He says, "I bought the game and beat it in exactly 1 hour. Despite how short the game is, I really enjoyed the experience. Everyone compares it to Doom, and I can see why with the intense soundtrack, dark graphics, and the character's eyes moving around. Plenty of 90s to be seen here. The plot is extremely minimalistic. All you get is a tutorial which shows robots being mass-produced and plans to invade Earth. Half of the moon blown up and an eerie red glow from Earth. The only hit you are given is through the training card system, where the humans appear deformed heavily. The minimal plot is much appreciated though. Not a lot of hand-holding, just pure action. The gameplay is intense too. From standard combat to the boss, you will get overwhelmed by enemies which only get more powerful as you progress. The difficulty is a highlight of the game though, which I typically avoid difficult games. This one makes it fun as opposed to too brutal to enjoy. In the end, the game deserves a 9 out of 10. A bit too short to enjoy destroying Earth, but the music, brutal gameplay, fast-paced action, and collectible items ramp up the replay value with rewards to unlock." So a really good review here for Butcher. I think the points we can take from this review and apply to Carrion are that it was 1 hour in total length, there was a minimalistic plot, an intense soundtrack, pure action, and quite difficult. So I fully expect Carrion to follow along these lines and can already see some of that shine through to the demo that I played. The soundtrack was intense, there was a lot of fast-paced action, and it was actually quite difficult. I do hope to get a little more out of the plot so that we get an experience a little longer than an hour. Now, what info can we glean from the publisher Devolver Digital? They have a lot of clout on the Nintendo Switch and are my favorite indie publisher on the platform. They constantly release title after title filled with stunning artwork and unique gameplay. Gris, Katana Zero, My Friend Pedro, Ape Out, the list goes on and on. With Devolver Digital backing Carrion, I fully expect nothing short of fantastic and eccentric. Carrion is shaping up to be one of my top indie games coming in 2020, with only my hype for Hollow Knight's Silksong surpassing it. I can't wait to see what other indie games are coming out next year. Let me know in the comments below, what indie game are you most excited for in the coming year?